Welcome back to our session of SAP for beginners. We are now starting chapter 3. In chapter 3, we will talk about the modules in detail. In first two chapters, I have given some kind of overview, and also I have spoken how a business is divided into client, company code, then profit center, and the storage plant and storage location. Now I will go to the modules, and I told into the last chapter that the SAP has so many modules, it is very difficult to explain all those modules in single video or very briefly also. So I have picked up the most important modules. We will speak on that, and then probably on sometimes in next opportunity, next video, I will go to the details of other modules as well. So let's start the video. Let's start the discussion now. Let us put it into the presenter mode of the presentation. Okay, so now we will talk first on the SD module in detail. So what is SD module? So SD modules is called sales and distribution module. Now SD module, why we are starting with SD module? Because SD module deals with the most important part of business, which is customer. So customer, there are two modules in SAP which deals about customer. The core modules is SD, and then another auxiliary module is there. That's name is CRM, Customer Relationship Management. Customer relationship management takes care of the most of the marketing activity or most of the branding activity, whereas the SD takes care of from the pre-sales to the cash collection. So there is a cycle in SD which is called quote to cash. When you say quote to cash, what is quote? Because if you want to sell something, primarily you will have to submit your quotation, and after submitting quotation, you will have to pursue your customer, negotiate your customer, deal with your customer to convert that quotation into a some kind of purchase order from customer. Based on that purchase order, you need to get that product manufactured or get that product ready or get that service delivered, and then with the proof of the delivery of the product or with the proof of the completion of the service or the proof of the completion of the any deliverable, you need to raise a bill which is called invoice, and you need to then collect the payment. So the cycle is called quote to cash. Now if you see the diagram what I have shown here, as there are distinctly there are four areas I have mentioned. The first portion is called pre-sales. So what is pre-sales activity? Pre-sales activity is typically the activity by which you convince your customer that your product is good for his use, and you need to convince customer to generate some kind of inquiry. So the first thing you do, you contact the customer. When you contact the customer, you need to create the customer master. That's some kind of master data. The customer record you need to maintain. And once the customer record is maintained, then you convince customer and he raises the inquiry for you. From that inquiry, based on the inquiry, taking the material master data, you generate the quotation, and from that quotation, either you convince your customer and you generate a contract. Once the contract is generated, the pre-sales portion is over. So in sales order portion, based on the contract from the customer or based on the purchase order from the customer, you generate some kind of sales order inside your factory. So sales order is a document or is a method by which you inform the downstream department of your factory to inform them that the order has been collected and it has these are the details through which the order has to be executed, has to be delivered, and the delivery expected date is this. So sales order is an important tool because sales order is the only way by which all customer requirements are converted into requirement which has to be given to your factory or given to your service department or delivery department, and then the delivery is done. Once the delivery is done, then you, for doing the delivery, You may have to do some kind of goods issue, you may have to do some kind of transfer order, create delivery, create billing, create shipment, and then finally, once the shipment is done and the delivery is done, when I say delivery, you need to understand in SAP there is a something, delivery is a very special connotation. It is not, delivery means it is a proof that the material is delivered. So the shipment is done when the delivery is created. Against the delivery you create the shipment. After that, either you create the transfer order, or you directly from shipment you create the invoice. Now in SAP or in any kind of business, there are normally two kind of business scenario we have. There are some business which is called make to stock. That means you do not create a manufacture a item just to give customer. You know that what is your standard number of sales expected in a month or in a year, and therefore based on that you generate a forecast, and on with reference to that forecast you generate some kind of stock. So as you see, there is one arrow from the goods issue which is going to material to stock account. So this is something where you actually you can create the stock. Or there is another opportunity, if you want to sell the item immediately, then also you will have to actually create the stock in SAP. So material stock account has got two options. Either material stock account can be taken from the material which has been made to stock, or if it is against any sales order or against any purchase order you are making a material, you can actually make the stock available, and with reference to that you can actually make an invoice. So as soon as you make the invoice, there is a another very important area of sales gets activated, and it will come into the FI and CO module, which is called the accounting payment. So as soon as the material is made and it is billed to customer, account receivable gets generated in the system. That means organization knows that this much amount of material I have supplied, and therefore I am supposed to get paid for this amount. So that is called account receivable. That gets generated. Now you see, there are two things. Now as soon as the account receivable will be replenished by the money which will come from customer, you will then knock off the account receivable, and your stock account will again become empty actually. So there is something called, this basic sales cycle what I told is configured in SAP sales and distribution module. And these every chapter what I have shown, like pre-sale, sales order, inventory sourcing, delivery, invoice, billing, they all are done using something called a transaction code. SAP actually, to run a SAP, you can actually, when I will go later, maybe in some other video I will show, when I will talk about the SAP screen, either you can go directly through SPRO, and there are menu driven by which you can do the configuration, or otherwise you can remember certain transaction code through which you can do. And as I told you that in the previous video, that SAP all modules are completely interrelated. Like SD is connected with MM is connected with CO is connected with PP is connected with FI. So therefore, you can see that we have shown that even this SD module, the previous module, material management is connected, production planning is connected, then sales information system is connected the other way. Because if you are doing the sales, at any point of time, one salesperson will like to know what is the pending order, what is the delivery has happened, how much order is in the queue. So some kind of management information system need to be done. So which is also in one part of this. Now, how do you? So I was actually referring one standard transaction code, which we normally use for the purpose of doing the SAP transaction code. So, for instance, I have actually trying to given one short cheat sheet. The cheat sheet means you can very easily remember that if you are doing inquiry in SAP, you'll have to go for VA11. That's the transaction code. Similarly, if you are creating a quotation, it is VA21. Now, SAP, at some time later, I will show, works on a conception of the data in SAP stored in different tables. And every module of SAP has got some table which are very key for that particular module. For instance, this table for SD module is VBAK and VBAP. So they store the transaction information pertaining to inquiry and quotation. Similarly, for the material management module, when you raise purchase order, they go by ME21, N is the transaction, and there are tables like EKKO and EKPO. Similarly, all these tables are very important through which using the transaction code. So you use a transaction code. The transaction code pulls the master data. Using that, you create a transaction, and the result of the transaction, the data from the transaction is stored in those tables actually. That's the way SAP works. So excuse me. So this is something we can talk of SD module. As I told you in the beginning, it is a very huge subject and it takes a lot of time. Maybe sometime when I will share the detailed documentation, you can go through and you can do that. Or maybe sometime I will do the individual module. I will make detailed presentation. But today let's stop here because now we are actually going only for the module by module. So let's stop here and let's go to the next module actually. So the next module is an important module, very important module, which is called material management module. So what is material management module? Material management module is the module which deals particularly with an important function which is called procurement function actually. So for any kind of service you provide or product you make, it is not possible for an organization to manufacture or to deal everything whatever he needs to be done. He needs to buy certain item. Certain item he needs to buy as a raw material. Certain item he needs to buy as a traded product or bought out product which will be used in the production system, or he may have to buy certain services from somebody. He may have to buy certain kind of certain kind of facility which he that company does not have. Now with so what material management module does, it helps you to procure the item and also to track the vendor's activity and pay the vendor once the procurement and the delivery of the material is complete. So it is exactly opposite of sales module. So if you consider, let's consider one car manufacturing company called Ford Motor, and let's consider a company which sells that car, the glass which makes window. So the company who sells the glass with the window, for him selling the glass is a sales. Therefore, he will use SD module to record his sale. The company who is purchasing the glass to manufacture the car, for him the glass is a commodity which he is buying. So he will use module to buy that item actually. So in both the company, once the glass is sold to Ford Motors, then it will be account payable will be generated for Ford Motors because they have to pay the money to that glass supplier, and in the book of the company who is selling the glass, in his book, in the finance and CO module, account receivable will get generated. So as soon as he pay, the account payable, the ledgers or the accounts will get nullified and it will get credited to the bank account of the company who has sold the glass. So this process, which I just now explained, which starts from the procurement and ends in the collecting of the payment, is actually called procurement to pay module. The whole process is called procurement to pay. So in procurement to pay, in any standard procurement, the process normally what we follow, we actually generate something called, we determine what is required to be bought, and that is the first step we do, which is called we determine the requirement. Because there are many things, unless and until you write all this thing in a piece of paper and inform your partner, inform your vendor, it is very difficult for the vendor to understand what exactly is your need. So first thing is the requirement preparation. After that, we create some kind of purchase acquisition. Purchase acquisitions are normally done by the end users. In an organization, there will be people who will actually need the item to perform or to convert the raw material into finished good. So that particular department, maybe department, maybe manufacturing department, maybe dispatch department, maybe supply chain department, they will raise the purchase acquisition. And once they raise the purchase acquisition, Purchase requisition is the first document which will come to the procurement department to buy the item. Based on the purchase requisition, procurement department will then prepare something called requirement for quotation, which is called RFQ. So they will issue the requirement for quotation, which in the sales area we are telling inquiry. So for the procurement department, it will be RFQ. When it goes to the another company's sales department, it will be named as inquiry actually. And then, as I told the earlier module, that the sales fellow is going to create a quotation. That quotation will come from that company, that glass company who is selling glass. They will give the quotation to the car manufacturing company. So procurement department work is to issue the RFQ and collect the quotation. After they collect the quotation, before they doing this activity, they will actually determine that how many vendors they are to select, because you cannot buy from only one vendor. There is a possibility that if you keep on buying from only one vendor, he may overcharge. So there has to be a process that you should be three vendors. After that, you may have to do some kind of technical analysis that which vendor is more suitable, which is T1 and which is T2 and which is T3. You may also have to do a cost comparison, that who is lowest one, L1, L2 and L3. And maybe then you can decide that I will buy from the T1 and L1, the partner who is technically most suitable and who is less costly. I will buy from them, because the target of the procurement module or the procurement department is to reduce the cost. The more amount of cost you can save here, that will actually make your company more profitable. So they may go for T1, L1, and finally they will issue a document which is called purchase order. Once the purchase order is given, that purchase order will be received by the organization who is the supplier. They will convert that into delivery, as I showed in the previous paragraph in the SD module. They will convert that into delivery, and that item will come and get delivered in our customer department. So this procurement department, as soon as they know the item has come, they will prepare the goods receipt. Goods receipt is a process by which you record that the material which has been ordered, it has come actually. So after the goods has been received, the person will actually also submit the invoice. They will do the invoice receipt. Then subsequent to the good receipt, there will be a quality inspection. Somebody will check whether the quality of the item which has been supplied is good or not, which is be governed by SAP QM module. I will come later. And then if it is okay, then they will do an entry and they will ensure that the invoice is paid. So the MM module actually does a good receipt, and after that they hand over the invoice. If the invoice is for any material, they do a good receipt. If the invoice is any for any service, they do a service entry sheet, which is also some kind of service receipt, and they pass on to FICO module, that is the finance department, to make the payment actually. So here also I have written the main transactions. Like for purchase acquisition, you have to create ME51 in quotation, you have to create ME41, vendor evaluation you can do by ME61, purchase order you can do ME21 in, good receipt you can go by MIGO, and invoice verification you can do by MIRO. Once you do MIRO, then it goes out of MM module pursue, it goes to the finance area, and the FICO module takes over from there actually. Now the interesting subject is, I told you the recipe is very integrated. So if you want to bypass any one module, the next module will not be able to work on that actually. So again, for the brevity of the time, I will stop here because I don't want to make the video very tall, and then later on I will make a video for remaining modules actually. I hope you like it, and let us stop here, and the next video I will start from SAP PP module actually. Thank you for being with us. I am again stopping the recording here.